was because the last time I was here, Jeff told me when I had the microphone on to not slap my chest so it hurt his ears, which of course I did. So God made sure that would not happen again. You know? Yeah, no. When I was in high school, there was at the small church that I was part of and grew up in, there was a small school. And the teacher of that school was like a retired minister. And I remembered sitting with his wife, and for some reason, maybe at our home, whatever. And she said that she didn't think we should laugh because there's no place in the Bible where it shows that Jesus laughed. She actually said that. She also said that she didn't like her husband's mustache and he refused to cut it off. So in the middle of the night, she cut off half of it. True story. I heard her say that. Now, I think it was them, but it might not have been, but it was sometime during high school. Someone said, because they had a daughter, they would not tell their daughter that she was beautiful because they didn't want her thinking she was more important than she was. That's just unbelievably horrible, you know. And what was interesting was these people did not walk around with a frown on their face. They just had accepted this humorless way of living. And so you're asking me, brought back those memories. One of the places that I found interesting stuff was in a magazine online, a magazine called Evangelicals, the National Association of Evangelicals, and there's an article by Donald Sweeting. And he says, when I asked my daughter if Jesus ever laughed, she said, of course he did, because he made kiwi birds and funny-looking roosters. And then he says, Orthodox Christianity says Jesus is both fully God and fully human. Denying the genuineness of either is heresy. If Jesus was truly human, he laughed. Humor is a fundamental part of having human emotions. So it was interesting having people take on what this was all about, as in like the chapter that you sent me. Really like that. And one of the things that I had never thought about was how Jesus spoke in his stories, in his parables, how there was an underlying element of humor. And in this article, it was kind enough to point out a bunch of those. Calling Peter Rocky. Changing water into wine. And there's a wonderful Gregorian chant which tells the story. And when the head of the event brought the wine out, and they had to bring more wine out, the chant actually starts going, ah, so it musically pointed out that they were drunk. And when Jesus talks about straining gnats and swallowing camels, easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. And if you've been to Jerusalem, you can see the eye of the needle, this hole in a wall like this, where even me at 5'9" would be too big to walk through. I would have to stoop to get in. So he was having fun with something that they all knew. And being worried about a speck in your brother's eye and ignoring the plank in your own eye. I thought that was really cool. But one of my favorite ones is the story of Balaam. So Balaam was a prophet who was caught between Balak, a local king, And he wanted Balaam to curse the Israelites they were fighting. And Balaam said he wouldn't do that. But he tried to run away on his donkey. And his donkey kept pushing him into the wall, this area they were going through. He complains to the donkey, and the donkey talks to him. Well, you know that you can only do what God asks you to do. And so he gave in and went and he blessed the Israelites, which made Balak really mad. So there's these stories of all of that. And yet there's this balance where there are 3 places in the Psalms where it says that God laughs. Well, these are people who were embattled all the time. And God laughed when he said, I win and you lose. And so that was their picture of God laughing. I found that interesting because that's certainly not the laughter of the donkey talking to Balaam and Jesus talking about stuff in your eye, And why I appreciate this is because of that woman saying we shouldn't laugh because the Bible doesn't show that Jesus ever laughed. So this is a traditional 3-part talk. First is Bible, second science, and the third is our experience. I don't really shouldn't have to talk about our experience based on everything you read this morning. But I think humor gives us a way to go there. We know the story of Norman Cousins healing himself from cancer by watching humorous movies, right? How it relates to our spiritual journey and the language of the Bible. I like also what Sweeting says. Consider the striking picture of the people of God in Psalm 126. It says, when the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, our mouths were filled with laughter and our tongues with shouts of joy. We know that our essence of our being is love. We are divine in God's love, and that's our reality. But we tend to forget that. And luckily, when we get a chance to re-experience it, then we have that freedom of laughter and joy. And I appreciate that. And then he says, because I believe this, but I appreciate the fact that he's being an evangelical. So that's just style. Is not this picture of freedom from captivity and exile with saints laughing a glimpse of the redeemed in heaven? Can you imagine the Son of God not laughing? Doesn't matter whether it's here or there or whatever. Sarah laughed when God said she was going to get pregnant. Job, who didn't decide to kill himself because all of his friends said, God's mad at you, you should just give up and commit suicide. He once again filled your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy. And we know the story that all of the blessings were given again to Job, who stood up for himself and his belief in God. Aiming towards science, a glad heart makes a happy face, a broken heart crushes the spirits. That's Proverbs. I like this one from Proverbs 15. For the despondent, every day brings trouble. For the happy heart, life is a continual feast. Just listen to what she wrote, and you know that you believe that, and we want to experience that all the time. And I love that. For the happy heart, life is a continual feast. Science from Proverbs also, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. I really appreciated what you pointed out in the divine reading. When when we feel ourselves being empty, we know to go ahead and feel ourselves being empty so we can flow through it. You've heard me share about that, right? But when we find ourselves, we find our God, our divinity, our strength, and our strength and our happiness is available to come back to us. Attacking ourselves because we've gotten ourselves depressed or discouraged, that's just silly, because that's not our truth. That's the dream that we've made up. Now, I admit that I have not looked up the context of this Proverbs thing, but I like it just for itself. She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. Because if our place is being part of God and God's creation and being one with God, and we are one with each other, and we look for the truth in each other, we're living in the present. And there's nothing about what happens tomorrow that can get us. I had a Zoom call with a friend of mine in another town in Montana who is quite discouraged and has trouble with depression. And when I said to her at the end, the truth of who you are cannot be ruined by you or anyone else, she started weeping. Because we had a really good conversation, and somehow I was guided to say that, and that was what she needed. She let that in. I would like to suggest laughter is the best medicine, a wonderful article from the helpguide.org. And the article is written in what they put on their website by Lawrence Robinson, Melinda Smith, and Jean Segal. So good. I've shared that if what I believe spiritually is something I can't experience, it doesn't help me. And my particular faith is based on my experience with God. And yet as you also said, I'm deeply grateful for growing up in a family and church that taught me the whole Bible. I'm very, very grateful for that. But it didn't help me be me in the early context of it. I had to believe that, and I had to be that instead of be myself. That was not their intention, but that's how I took it. So I'm going to go through the science stuff, and then we're going to laugh together. We're going to be Santa Claus, pretending that we're bringing gifts to kids. And then we're going to do the laughing surprise okay exercise together. So I just want to let you know ahead of time, we're going to be making some noise together. Okay. All right. Laughter relaxes the whole body. Laughter boosts the immune system. Laughter triggers the release of endorphins. Laughter protects the heart. Laughter burns calories. We were just talking about losing weight. Laughter lightens anger's heavy load. Laughter even may help you live longer. I have to ask my my nephew, who's at the Arctic University of Norway. A study in Norway found that people with a strong sense of humor outlived those who don't laugh as much. The difference was particularly notable for those battling cancer. And we have that story of cousins. So science has let us know that a positive outlook and actually putting it into laughter, where we can be with each other and Dalai Lama really talks about that in that chapter. Makes a big difference. So again, now I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to be Santa Claus. Just ho 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 ho. What I'm doing is I'm holding the big bag of gifts that you're getting ready to give the kids. All right. And that's all we're going to do. We're going to do 5 of those. But I want you to stand and look across the room. Okay. And you are Santa Claus, and the people on the other across the room are the kids that you just bring a bunch of presents to that you know that they're going to really enjoy. So 5 of these ho-hos. Ready? And ho 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 ho. 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 One more. Ho ho. Good. Sit back down. Right here. So Desmond Tutu and Dalai Lama talk in that chapter about teasing each other. Because Dalai Lama says laughter is good, but jokes are even better. Um, Actually, but I think he was saying laughing and joking is better. But I mean, but they say they have fun really teasing each other. Thank you. They really have fun teasing each other. See, now I'm dropping it because I'm walking away. Right? We were talking about he ho 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 hey. Just happens to be a major triad chord. He ho 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 hey. It's laughing. He. And then someone comes up and pokes you. Ho ho ho, you're surprised. But it's the right person and you're in the right mood. Hey, it's okay. Ho 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 hey. Okay. Now we need to do the standing, but so stand again. Okay. And we're gonna do a number of these. So ready and ho 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 hey. Good again. Now really focus on laughing and surprise and okay. And go. Ho 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 hey. Instantly your tone was bigger and freer and warmer. That's really cool. Hey. Ho 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 hey. Once again. Ho 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 hey. Hey. Ho 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 hey. Ho 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 hey. And we'll do one more. Ho 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 hey. Ho 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 hey. Well, so now we're going to do a few more with some direction here. Because we're imagining that we're laughing at the beginning, you're allowed to actually smile like you're laughing. Hey, hey, ho, 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 hey. Right, once again, enjoy the laughing and smiling. Ho, 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 hey. And what happens when you're really surprised, someone comes up and pokes you. Oh, ho, 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 ho. There we go. And ho, 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 hey. And again. Ho, 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 hey. But you're in the right mood and it's the right person, so it's okay. Hey, hey. Ho, 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 hey. Ho, 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 hey. One more. Ho, 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 hey. Good. Okay, sit down. Thank you very much. So you're going to have a conversation about the chapter and like talk about your own experience, but can you just share what did you get from reading the interview with Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu in the book? That spiritual people laugh, right? Exactly. um, really did talk about how can you cultivate humor? How can you cultivate being able to laugh and to tease? And in this article, by the way, um, he really gives typical thing. Here's the 10 things you can practice. I'm not going to go into that, but I mean, that's right. You can actually practice going there. Sweeting, the guy at the beginning, he said, think about the nature of joy itself. G.K. Chesterton, he's a really neat author, said that joy is the gigantic secret of the Christian. Well, I, as a Course in Miracles person, it just is really clear. If you're not experiencing joy, you're not really focusing on what's real. That joy is what's really there. And then, as from my own personal work, if you're not feeling joy, go ahead and don't feel joy, but be present with it. Notice it, be there, and then the truth will shine through. Don't argue with yourself. Be present with yourself. And it's nice to know, well, okay, I'm feeling discouraged today. Okay. And I'm focusing on something that's not real. Okay, good. Well, guess what? The Holy Spirit's going to help me focus on what's real. I'm not alone and I don't have to attack myself. Anything else about what you read? That it creates intimacy. Exactly. Yes. That when we're laughing together, we feel safe with each other. We're vulnerable with each other. And so we have a chance to really be intimate and really connect with each other. I think that's one of the most important things, is that for me, it's all about joining. That it's not about getting it right. I've been a Course in Miracles student for long enough, and I was a Course of the Bible, a student of the Bible long enough, and I don't reject the Bible at all. I appreciate it deeply. So believe much of it. But you can really worry about getting it right, about understanding everything in the same external way that I was raised with the Bible. And that's anything. You can study anything. But if it doesn't help you be you and with you, it's not only useless on this plane, but it misses completely what's true. Why is it important that you guys are a source of divine life and love and giving? Why? Because that's the truth in everyone, whether they can see it or not. And I've said this in the past. When I started using attitudinal healing and applying one principle a day, the essence of our being is love, or health is inner peace, healing is letting go of fear. My friends started telling me I was easier to be around because I wasn't spending so much energy projecting the dark energy which I was living in. And at that time, I still didn't understand nearly as much as later on, just life slammed into me. I had to get it, that the world I see is the one I project. And if I'm not happy, I don't have to attack myself. I don't have to feel guilty, but I'm the one that's not feeling happy. And that really, really changed my life. So when we're laughing, we're safe with each other, safe with ourselves. And I've gone through situations that didn't make me feel safe. Some that made me feel really angry and very attacked. And laughter says, it's not what's important. It's not, don't try to say you're not feeling it. Don't try to say someone hasn't stolen money from you. Don't try to say you're not sick. But what's true? What's real? And the Psalms are full of stories that all sorts of bad things happened, and God came in and took care of it, and people became happy again. Or if they were halfway there, all this bad stuff's coming, and God's going to help me beat the crap out of them. That's also in the Psalms. So at least having hope, having believed that things will work out. And it's really weird having notes instead of just an outline. But you sent me into all sorts of, yes, I do love finding rabbit holes and going down them. I I love researching and learning. So this is the Dalai Lama from the chapter. Okay. It is much better when there is not too much seriousness. And he's really consistent about wherever you hear about him talking about it. Laughter, joking is much better. Then we can be completely relaxed. There's sending you to truth, sending you to healing. We can be relaxed. We can be ourselves. We can be safe with each other. We can be intimate. We can be with each other. And he said, this is the interviewer, I believe. I once heard that laughter was the most direct line between two people. And there's that intimacy. We're being with each other without anything getting in the way. Well, isn't that what we believe our reality with God is? We can convince ourselves that there's things in the way, but are we ever really separate from our source? Ooh. And I forget which one of them is saying this one, but this is from the article. People who are always laughing have a sense of abandon and ease, not holding on. Because I've shared with my family story, so I won't go into that. But I spent most of my life going through like that, holding on to myself and being tense, certainly not abandoned and not at ease. They are less likely, those who are laughing and have a sense of abandon and ease, they are less likely to have a heart attack than those people who are really serious. This is the Dalai Lama saying, and who have difficulty connecting with each other. Those serious people are in real danger. Why do you affirm these things together in what you believe, right? Because you're doing it together. Yet these ways, these symbolic ways of experiencing literally being together. I like this one. Forgive me for reading. The Dalai Lama visited Belfast in Northern Ireland after the Troubles. He was invited to attend a private meeting where victims and perpetrators of violence were present. The atmosphere was very tense, as the suffering was practically palpable in the air. As the meeting began, a former Protestant militant spoke of how, when he was growing up, he was told by other loyalists that what they did in opposition to the Catholics was justified because Jesus was a Protestant, not a Catholic. Knowing that Jesus was, of course, a Jew, the Dalai Lama laughed so hard that he completely changed the atmosphere. Able to laugh at the absurdity of our prejudices and our hatreds, everyone was able to communicate more honestly and compassionately with each other. That is just, that's a complete thought, isn't it? Able to laugh at the absurdity of our prejudices and our hatreds. Everyone was able to communicate more honestly and compassionately with each other because they weren't projecting this. I just love that. And then Desmond Tutu talks about them teasing each other and how in teasing each other, they're acknowledging that they trust each other. So when people get all uptight because you say mother, father, daughter, sister, God, you know, oh, come on. For one thing, I don't care about that. It's not an issue for me one way or the other. But getting upset about it makes no sense whatsoever. And we have that in our culture today. He, she, they, them. I think it's silly. But guess what? My granddaughter decided for a while that she was queer. And luckily, her whole family said, yes, you're claiming being who you are. And so she just flowed into, I'm open. And her boyfriend prefers being called she. Wonderful artist. Well, my wife, who's now the secretary for the counseling office at Hellgate and loves high school kids, so she loves being there and loves seeing her two granddaughters every day. In talking with the granddaughter, saying, it's really not about you. It's only about us. Well, isn't that what the 60s taught us? Isn't that what Hellgate High School, where the kids would dye their hair color differently every week? Isn't that what we did between, the age gap? No such thing as an age gap. Teenagers are supposed to explore. They're supposed to find their own way and their own reality. It's what they're supposed to do, and they're supposed to feel intensely. And so it was really neat, the granddaughter just saying, yeah, this is what we want to do. It was showing it doesn't matter. It's not an issue. But we're going to ask this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that way. And I just am not threatened by them asking. The fact that I don't care, it's my job to not feel threatened by it, to go, yeah, ask me to communicate with you any way you want, you know. I'm just so grateful to be able to come here the number of times with the Course in Miracles group and getting to know you and um when I have the opportunity to experience the friendship, the knowing each other, and hearing you declare that you're going to be that way publicly is really cool. Now, no group of people is without conflict. It's just the nature of human beings. We misinterpret or we feel things are more important than us. And I happen to know that there's been some conflict here in the past. It doesn't matter. It's a non-issue. Laughter gives us a chance to literally experience the safety and the being, the connection to what's real. And I was so grateful. I wasn't sure, how am I going to do this? Because what am I going to say about laughter, about humor? I love teasing, you know, and I believe very much that humor can be harmful, but most of the time humor is saying, no, come on, let's enjoy each other and let's have fun looking for what's real. And so your song, both songs, by the way, I really love the message of both songs. I sang Walk Through the Storm in high school, a little before you. How do you know that you can have hope? So one of the things in here was about someone who was at a hospital visiting a child whose face was burnt horribly. And another kid came through and looked over and says, "You ugly." And they all laughed. And what the guy said, there are times for laughter and there's time not for laughter. And when we can look at what his point was, he looked at that child and instead of looking at the burns, looked at the child, a fellow human, a fellow child of God, a fellow person, and saw that. And I don't know. I mean, each of us has our own struggles, our own joys. You know, why do we come? Why does unity feed us? Well, once I found out that my eyes were not hazel, they were actually gray, and there was dirty and there was brown in there that made them look hazel, which is her fault. Years and years ago. It's like, oh, trying to hold on to this thing that I think is the absolute truth, which is what I grew up, the truth, called how I grew up, you know. So laughter is saying, don't hold on to that. That's not what it's about. What's about is all these years of knowing Pat, years and years ago, and then she disappears. And I remember actually calling the bank where you used to work and just wanting to connect because it was so easy for us to communicate from the very, very beginning. And here she is, learning how to handle the sound system. So what I care about laughter, what I care about humor, is helping us experience who we are and who we are, and therefore who we are with God and who God is. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I value you guys very, very much. Yeah. Well, thank you. No, I don't remember what I'm supposed to do. Because it's time to stop. Yeah. I had no idea. I looked and it was like 20 minutes, and it's been 20 minutes since I've been yakking.
So if you want to lead us in the prayer for protection, and then we'll stand and
We'll do that. Great. Yes. All right. Good. Thank you. Yes, the prayer for protection. It's the reason why we can laugh. Because that's the truth. Okay. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. We are love. Yeah. Oh, you're doing it. Are you doing it? Oh, you're doing it with that. Okay, right. Thank you. We are one.